Now it's live.
Why is it not?
I believe we're live.
We are live.
Okay. Hello and welcome, Spurs fans, wherever you are, to Spurs Diehards Tottenham Till I Die Friday edition. Tonight we've got a good panel for you. Today we've got three guests in Charlie Biker from Holland, TJ and Haz, friends of the channel, and Mark Mods with us as well. So first I'll start off with and introduce our guest and ask them how they are. So Charlie, how are you?
I'm doing amazing. Just got back from Berlin a day ago. Yeah, horrible that we lost, of course. I'm still devastated. Wake up with an empty feeling every day. It's crazy. It's like, it's horrible. But still, Tottenham's playing tomorrow. We're doing a good pre-season, so everything's going well. Made the school year, so all that hard work actually did pay off in the end. So I'm doing fantastic, really, except for the English loss.
Right, TJ, how are you, my man?
I'm good, thank you. Just getting back into the streaming lifestyle. I've been gone for a while, but back to Spurs. Spurs is what we've been missing. Look, I know England lost, but really and truly, we're waiting for Spurs to play. So I'm ready to speak about Spurs.
Haz, my man, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. It's good kind of to be back streaming again because I was on holiday for like 2 weeks. And also, I mean, you guys don't know, it's only a month till the Premier League starts again. So it's going to go quick. I think the next 4 weeks going to just
so we've got to make moves in the transfer window, haven't we? Yeah, okay, we'll talk about that later. So, Mod Mark, how are you, my mate?
All is good. Hot, bothered. Yeah, we're not used to this weather in this country. It's normally Friday and rain.
We're going to start by going back a little bit in time because as Charlie did go to Berlin, I don't know any games he watched or whatever, but we'll start with Charlie and get his take on that, and then we'll move on to Spurs v Hearts. Like when we move on to Spurs v Hearts, first we'll do the lineup, then we'll do the first half, then we'll do the second half, then we'll do substitutions, and then we'll do player ratings, and then we do what you thought of Ange, his tactics and things like that. We do them in that order. We won't run away and then keep coming back to the beginning again. We have points to.
I'll just let you know, Adrian. I haven't actually seen any of the games, so I'm good with that part.
It's fine. Well, you can always pass. I mean, what I like about when they say they don't know something, they don't try and blag it. They just say, "Look."
I was going to say that. Oh yeah, he played really well. Probably. Yeah.
Well, we can fill in the gaps and ask you questions around it. So, Charlie, when did you go to Berlin? What games did you actually see?
So on Tuesday night, I went to Wednesday morning, I went to Dortmund. Wednesday evening, arrived in Dortmund. Saw the Netherlands v England game, which was amazing. Saw us win there. Bloody had the best night of my life. Then I went the next day. That evening, I went back to Holland, and then Friday I went with two of my mates. We went to Berlin, and arrived there. Got ready with all the England fans. Got ready for the spirit. Saw the game, we scored, it was limbs, it was actual limbs, and then we lost and it was horrible. But Berlin's a beautiful city, so that did complement the fact that we did lose for the rest.
the video clips I see on the Holland game look like the whole of Holland turned up to watch the Holland
Yeah,
play.
because it was only a 3-hour drive. It's only a 3-hour drive. It's nothing. So it's so easy to get there.
So what was it like getting in and out? What was access in and out of stadiums? I know I've heard people had coming back to England by plane, flights were cancelled, it was awful and stuff like that. But you drove? Did you go with your family and friends or whatever?
Yeah, to Dortmund I went with driving, just 3 hours. Way there was really easy, way back was horrible because of all the traffic jams. The whole of Holland was coming back home at the same time. And then just getting into the stadium was really easy. There's fan zones, everyone was sitting mixed. No fights, no all this stuff. It was really peaceful, really, and everyone was just getting hammered. Everyone getting hammered, singing along. There was a lot of Dutchies at the first game. Second game didn't go into the stadium. Was at the fan zone. You know when you see the BBC, you've got the massive screen behind it. I was standing there, just like from when there were 10 English people, there was one Spanish person. So it was just limbs the whole time, and then we lost, which was horrible. But it was a peaceful night, no fighting. So I mean, I really enjoyed it. Good.
It's a buzz. It's a memory, isn't it? I remember Euro 96 in the UK. It was a fantastic atmosphere where we were. And we had the Dutch in our pub as well because they were camped in Pickett's Lock behind where I live, So they were in the local boozers as well. And they were all right. They were cool. Right. All right. Well, thanks for that. We'll move on to Hearts versus Spurs. Who watched the game out of you guys?
I watched I've watched every single part. So,
well, then I think we'll start with you, TJ. Now, the team was Austin, Porro, Gray, Skip. Garay and Skip were centre backs. Donnelly was left back. Then you had Basuma, Madison, Kulusevski, Johnson, Son, and Solomon. So, what was your take on the lineup?
You know what? To be totally honest with you, I knew from the get-go that we wouldn't have our first team out there. Generally speaking, I think pre-season is to come together and build fitness. Really and truly, I didn't really care. Even if we was to lose 5 or 2 or 1, it's not really about the scoreline. Pre-season is about getting the boys fit for the next coming season. So I knew it was going to be a makeshift team. I also wanted to see a lot of the youngsters, so that ended up happening. Obviously, we had Mikey Moore, and you had Bergvall, you had Spence was a really interesting one because I didn't even think he would play. So for him to get minutes, it was crazy. It was not crazy, but it seemed like Angie's obviously given the not first teamers a good opportunity to show what their quality. So I thought the lineup, look, to be honest with you, we could have lined up anyway. I don't think the lineup was really important. I felt like it's to see what the players like Archie Gray can offer, Bergvall could offer. Even Manuel Solomon, he was a bit disappointed for me personally, but what would he offer? Johnson, after scoring a hat-trick behind closed doors, casually seeing him play, what would he offer? So really and truly, the lineup could have been anybody on the pitch. I just felt like it was perfectly made to showcase everybody's talent. And yeah, that's basically what I've taken from the lineup. But what did you think about it? Was you a bit concerned with how weak the squad was?
Well, Donnelly played at left back against Cambridge when we won 7-2 over the weekend, when Johnson got the first half hat trick and Sonny got 2, and I think Mikey Moore got 1. Did he get 1 there? Was it someone got 1 there? And I don't know whether Werner got a goal, but it's an own goal at the end. So Donnelly playing at left back wasn't a surprise because Ben Davies is injured. All our centre backs are away. So the Skip and Gray partnership, the only thing I thought was that I thought was a bit strange was like you're going with Skip and Gray, and yet Ashley Phillips is on the bench. So that was the only thing I thought was a little bit strange to me. Obviously, there's a reason for it. I mean, like perhaps he was told he was going to get a half, and it's interesting that Ange went with Gray at centre half anyway, and he did look out of place. He looked composed, which can be more convincing. Emerson when he came on with his touch, right? So yeah, so I thought that was good. First half. Did any of you guys? Did you watch it on highlights, or did any of you others watch the game?
I don't have Spurs Play.
That was it.
Did you watch it on Spurs Play? Yeah.
No, I don't have Spurs Play. I need to buy it.
Okay. Have you seen the highlights since though?
Yeah, of course.
The goals, and that's it.
Yeah, I've seen the goals.
Before we go to the highlights, can I add something because I watched the game? So we're going to talk about the highlights, the key moments, obviously, in the game. But one thing that I have to say, and she done something really smart for the first game. And I know it's quite, look, the first game against Hearts, you can't really look too deep into it. But by him playing Archie Gray as a centre-back, just shows that he can play anywhere. I'm definitely sold that he can either play in the midfield, he can play on the right back, because Spurs haven't seen him play in the right back position, but in the previous season he was playing in the fullback position. You know, Emerson Royale. Let me be honest with you, I'm a bit surprised he went with Emerson Royale. I think the nail is in the coffin because he did have a poor game, in my opinion. But I think that's, again, you can't really look too deep into these kind of like performances because it doesn't really matter. Even if we was to lose 5-0, like I said, it wouldn't affect the outcome of what Angie's trying to do. He's trying to get these guys fully fit for the coming season. So half of the team will play and half of the team won't play. I have to agree with you. I thought Ashley Phillips not starting at centre-back was a bit like, okay, cool. I thought he would, but then he did end up coming on. So, again, it's hard to really judge these pre-season games. Yeah. You can only judge it based by fitness. But we did play well, to be honest with you.
Okay, well, for you guys that didn't see how the goals come, right, I'll just give you a rundown and ask your opinion on the highlights, right? I mean, before we even scored, Austin made a good save over the bar from a header. A cross came in from I don't know who, and it was a point-blank header. And how Austin saved it, I don't know. He pushed it over the bar. And then a little while later, Gordon made a good save from Sonny, who was put through, and he's blasted it. And then somehow their keeper tipped it over the bar line. And this is all before half-time. Then Tagawa had a bad miss. He had a virtual and open goal, and he's missed it. He's put, from a breakaway. And then on 38 minutes, it was a lovely move for the Spurs' first goal. No team would have defended it. It was a combination of Maddison and Kulu. And what happened in the end, Kulu's flick, when you just look at Kulu's flick through to Maddison.
It's amazing.
To just pull it back for grade, there's the sort of goals I think Ange wants, not these complicated goals, like easy tapping. So that went in there, right? And then so from Madder's cross, then 41 minutes, Porro was through, he shot over the bar. And I thought the three best players in the first half for me were Gray and there were Porro and Kulu. And Kulu was playing, I mean, you watched it, TJ, he looked like he was playing like a wide right midfielder, sort of hybrid number 8. He didn't really drift out to the wings as if he was told. He wasn't really playing as a 10 either. Like, he was just sort of, that's more central, more of a cam sort of role. Like,
I would say he was the free player, the person that would roam around. He was always open in whenever he got the ball. He was open. He was the extra man that allowed players to run off of him. Hence why you did mention the nice little flick. That flick was so amazing. Honestly, he didn't even look. The way he passed the ball, it was. The first goal was amazing, but I think this role that Kulu was playing, he needs to play more of it because from look again, it's really hard to judge, but after the season that Kulu had last season, you would expect for me personally, I would expect a massive improvement. But again, it's still pre-season. It's still they're still getting fit. I think it's too. You know when you judge something and you're analyzing it to the point where sometimes you just have to see it for what it is. Yeah, really and truly, it's just fitness. It was a training game for us, to be honest with you. That's how I would put it. But yeah, carry on what you were saying.
Right.
I agree with you.
When the second half starts, we had a calamitous error by Emerson Royal. He lacks so much composure, right? I mean, like, there's no way we should have conceded a goal like that. I mean, and then on the 55th minute, Will Lancashire was put through by Spence for his assist, and he scored a nice, neat goal in the far. And then we virtually started to apply the pressure from then onwards. And then we had a lot of the ball. We had something like 75% possession during the game. And then in the 65th minute, Mikey Moore was put through by a Bergvall pass. This goal was class. He's jinked inside on his left foot. I mean, like, which he is right-footed, but plays on his left. But he's got such a good close control, and like he's got this sort of like a center of gravity that like is so good that you want to see in a winger, like, you know, that's not going to get, who's comfortable on either foot, can shift from one to the other. And then he's cut inside on his right, took about 3 Hearts players out of the game and slotted the ball in the corner. And it can't be said like how good the pass was from Bergvall. I mean, it's pass he should make. 71st minute, Spence scores from a Werner cross, which is a typical Werner cross across the box. You hope it's going to find someone, and Spence puts it in. So he now gets, and then like 70 minutes, Villas had a chance from Spence. I think he ended up with a bloody nose for it. I'm not sure. And then the 84th minutes, Bergvall, who I want to talk about later, he's come down the right wing, put a beautiful cross into the box. Dane Scarlett's got on the header. How they kept it out, I don't know, but it's come to the far post, and Ashley Phillips beat the defender on the far post. I think he got the touch on it to put it in the net. You know.
Yeah.
They were the players I took give credit in that second half was Tarasol. We can talk about these in Tarasol. Alfie Divine did well. Bergvall did very well. He isn't getting the plaudits I thought he would get. Mikey Moore got all the plaudits, as did Spence, who was easily the player of the second half. And
Mikey Moore got all the plaudits, I would have to say, because of that goal he scored when he shifted his body from left to right. I thought that's a beyond. This kid needs to join the first team. In my opinion, that sold me from that moment. And maybe I'm jumping the gun, and I think a lot of Tottenham fans, after watching his performance against Hearts, would probably agree with me. Well, again, maybe I'm jumping the gun, but for him to have confidence to shift the ball to the left, to the right, and the way he done it with the slick, he deserves to have a call up. I'm not necessarily saying he has to play play all the matches, but I would say he has to be a part of the first team, because you can tell he's hungry. We don't have enough hungry young players that are willing to die for the badge, and he's just a player that generational talent. Honestly, it's not like he made Bergvall look. I have to admit, look, Bergvall played well, but this Mikey Moore.
Different. It's like comparing apples with oranges. They're different styles.
Yeah, this Mikey Moore is a quality. Not when I say quality.
Yeah, I mean, he's got it all, because he can play anywhere across the front three, and he can play in midfield.
I think that's what Tottenham's missing right now. We need a player like Mikey Moore.
And the England, when I've watched him play for the England youth team sides, and I think when he's in the under-17s, he got 7 goals in 15 games, and then in the under-18s, he got 10 goals in 12 games, and then recently, when he was playing a game, he got something like 14 goals in 17 games, and he got a hat-trick against Croatia. I mean, his stats, and that's without his assists, his stats are absolutely mental. That's why everybody would like to get him, right? What I like about him as a player, though, when you see him, I mean, I wouldn't normally be like hogging the chat guys, but as you three didn't, well, I'll ask you about the goals and everything in a minute as you watch them. But as I watched him play, and as TJ did, when he's got space but deep in midfield, he runs at pace. He drives at defenders, right? And he's good, and he's always looking around. When he turned up on the right wing, I expected to see him a lot more on the left, but we didn't, because that's where I've seen him play youth games. Or maybe it's because Wayne Burnett's got a glut of options on the right. I don't know, but they all play inverted wingers now. It seems to be a fashion. But he comes down on the right-hand side and he'll go burst, slow down. He's always having a look, burst, slow down, burst, slow down. But when he has to do a long bursting run or a mazy run, he just does it. He's got such good close ball control, you know, that like it's just a phenomenal talent. And we'll come to him later. Yeah, I think he's that good. I want to talk about, I thought Divine did well. Now, Lucas Bergvall, 55 touches, more touches than any player on the field. He had more touches in the final third than any player. He was the one player out of him and Archie Gray I thought might take a bit longer to settle into the side, simply because Gray's got experience from the championship, which is a good ground, you know. So I thought because of that, right? But he was always available, looking to pick a pass. He started slowly, actually. He did start the game slowly, Lucas Bergvall, but then he grew into it. Didn't look out of his depth at all. You know,
I feel like how Ange wants to build, and this is really important for a lot of fans that don't really look. I won't judge fans in terms of their viewpoints, but a lot of fans that don't really look into tactics. Bergvall and people like even Archie Gray are very vital to Ange's system for two reasons. Firstly, versatility. Like, they can play in multiple positions, and they're young and up and coming. They're hungry. There's a big reason why Ange, I could easily put my hand on chest. Look, again, I don't have no insights to fully back up my argument that I'm going to say, but I can totally understand why we went for Archie Gray, because again, he can play in multiple positions, and he's young and hungry. We can see a similar pattern forming with our youth, even Ashley Phillips. We bought Ashley Phillips. He went out on loan. He wonders where he went. Now he's back at Tottenham. He's up and coming and young. So there's a few key players that Tottenham are building to create a good atmosphere for the future as well. Because look, let's take aside the talent that we have on the pitch, but just actually look for the next 5 to 6 years. These players like Mikey Moore, Bergvall, and Ashley Phillips, even Archie Gray, they're gonna, if the development is the same how we're seeing it on the pitch, they will get to the point where we could see them play for the first team, and hopefully that is the plan. That should be the ultimate plan.
Yeah, and
you know, and we haven't had that. That's the problem. We haven't had that in the last 5, 6 years. There's been only a handful of players that have come through, and that's Kane, Skip, Winks. Am I missing any?
Well, there's a few.
Marcus Edwards,
you know, things like that.
Yeah.
None of them really set the world alight at Spurs. Charlie, let's come to you.
Right? Can I just say something first?
Yes, go on. Of course you can, Mark.
Yeah, right. Big up to Tottenham on Tour, who've just sent all their viewers over it.
Oh, right.
As you can see in the comments, there's like Levy Out Raid, Daigle Raid, Tottenham on Tour Raid.
Big up.
Charlie,
yeah, big up to all of you.
You've recovered from your trip to Berlin to watch those two games. Like your take, if you've seen the highlights. So, have you watched the highlights and the goals?
Of course, I've watched all the highlights on every player because I really wanted to see how my boy Archie Gray was doing. I really wanted to see how Mikey Moore was doing, how well I'm doing, and I was really impressed. You know, I thought Archie Gray playing at centre back without a real centre back standing next to him. I know it's against Hearts, but still, you've got to give him credits. He's held his ground. Didn't get past a lot. Didn't make a lot of mistakes. I'm happy with it. Look going forward. So with Archie Gray, he's going to prove a lot of Spurs supporters wrong, and he's going to show us that we've made a very good signing. I'll tell you that for free. And
do you want to get through the comments, Adrian?
Yeah, sure. Go on. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I was going to say, I know you slack at this. So I got to keep reminding you. No, ignore them.
No, but for the rest, the team played amazing. And, of course, it's against Hearts, but we played two basically youth teams who played against a third-place Scottish team, which is still or pretty impressive, I have to say. If you're 18 years old, you don't get the playing minutes, and if you do get the playing minutes, we want to see them play good, and they did play good. So I give all the respect to the players. I think Emerson Rowe's a no-go. Keep Spence. Just give him half a season. Let's see how he does the rest of the pre-season, because maybe we won't need to buy a new right back then. I'd really like that. And two, we need to get a good clinical striker, because I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not seeing this Richarlison. Like, I know Richarlison wasn't playing, but I do think we need like an Ivan Toney. Seeing him in the Euros play, seeing the player is, seeing how he just gets the team running, gives the energy. We really need that at Spurs, especially because he's a real winning mentality player. And Mikey Moore played an amazing game. We had Bergvall played very forward, very direct, very box to box. Loved him. I think he's if we need to give the thing with Lucas Bergvall is we need to give him trust. If we don't give him trust, he'll be a goner. So I think don't boo him, don't hush him when he makes a mistake, because he's going to make mistakes. He's young, but if we don't give him the time or the confidence, he won't be able to become this great player. So I'm seeing a lot of positives out of this game, except for Emerson Royale, really.
Has your take on the highlights? What you could gather from the highlights?
Well, all the goals seem similar to last season, the kind of goals we scored. So, tap-ins, like Johnson's got a lot of them last season. I think it's just like what TJ said, it's just a training exercise. I'm kind of scarred from putting any meaning to friendlies since 2008 when we won every single one, and then we went 2 points from 8 games. So I'm kind of scarred from like watching. That's why I don't really watch them, because I just don't think they have any sort of meaning in terms of like for the first few games of the season. But in terms of like the youngsters, it's good to see them actually get any minutes. And I think this is kind of like players like Bergvall, and Archie Gray, I guess, to a lesser extent. So I think he'll be in the first team regardless next season. But to stake a claim to start next season, because if they can do something now, then by the time we get to game week 1, if they're still in, say, like the friendlies first team, let's say, then they might have a chance to start the season. So it's more for them more than anyone else, I think.
Yeah, let's talk about Jed Spence. He had a fine second half, an assist and a goal. Now, I was also, when he started, that drew my attention straight away, because apparently there was a falling out with Ange, and if rumours were true, it was either Gennaro or you're not even coming in the training ground and things like that. You hear these rumours. How much truth there is in them, I don't know, right? But he did play really well. He looked, the sort of inverted fullback you'd want. So I wonder if he's had a word with Ange has had a word with Spence and said, "Look, I'm playing you. Show me what you've got," or whatever. Is this a redemption for Spence? Do you guys think we can save ourselves money in the transfer market? I've watched players, people comment on other posts, and they've said like, "Oh, he's rubbish anyway, get rid of him." We know he went from Middlesbrough to Forest, when we took him from Forest off of Middlesbrough, then he's been out to Leeds, and he didn't do badly at Leeds, and then he went out to Genoa, and now he's back with us. So, Mark, do you think there's a chance that we keep DJ Spence then? Do you think something's happened with him and Ange? Something must have happened, surely.
Well, there was some rumours about his attitude, wasn't there?
Yeah.
If he's, allegedly, if anyone's got links that I can watch these friendlies, because I'm not giving Levy 50 quid, you can forget it. But like, but
you know what? Can I, after this, before I leave, take my number. I'll sort you out.
Right, okay.
Thank you, my man. Right,
I'll sort you out. So you don't have to pay these Levy fines.
I'm not paying them. I refuse.
Yeah.
No, but like,
to all of you, to be fair, to judge a player, all we've ever heard about Spence, all I've ever heard, you may have heard more or seen more. He had that good game against Arsenal in the FA Cup, wasn't it? Right, and he had good games for Forest, charging down the. Charge. Go on, TJ.
Yeah. Can I be totally honest here? And it's gonna come like I'm a bit negative, but I will justify why I say this. Jed Spence is perfect for Tottenham. However, he won't stay at Tottenham. And this is the conclusion. He's too good to sit on the bench, but he's not as prominent to take over Pedro Porro's spot. So now this gives us a very difficult situation where it comes down to the fact that Tottenham's been really poor for a long while. And no matter how you see it, if we were Man City, for example, or I would say Arsenal, and we're winning trophies on a regular basis, it will entice players to stay at Tottenham. But a talent like Spence, and we have seen his quality. Okay, cool. Look, last year, whatever's happened has happened, right? And if it was a falling out, it's a falling out. If it's an attitude problem, it's an attitude problem. But one thing I would have to say, the best players have a bad attitude. And no matter what you say, if you look at like the best players that play football right now, they say Ronaldo had an attitude. They say Pogba had an attitude. They say, and this is a factual fact. If you have an attitude, you know your levels. But again, it's a bit like a lot of people are going to disagree with my point because they say you need a good harmony in the squad. But I don't think Jed Spence will obviously stay because he's not going to want to sit on the bench and see Pedro Porro play. And we can already accept that Pedro Porro's first team.
Let me put you on the spot then.
Go for it, bro.
That you could play in a friendly like this then. Why play Spence instead of one of the others on the bench? Why play him? I mean, this is the
I
thing
agree.
Do you think he might be in there for the shop window then?
No. I agree with what you're saying, but I can throw that back. I can throw that back and say, why play Emerson Royale? Why play Emerson Royale if Emerson Royale is not in your plans? Why play
putting him in the shop window?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Could be the possibility, but in my opinion, I'm talking about future events. I don't think Stench would want to sit on the bench because he knows his quality. He is a quality player. He expected his big move because remember, we bought him from a championship club to be playing in Pedro Porro's position. Now we brought Pedro Porro in, so there's no space for him, sadly. And
but then
go for it, bro.
I was gonna say though, like we've still been linked with a right back like Vanderson. I think Vanderson is that the one.
Yeah, and Geertruida at Feyenoord, I think is a good player. I mean, they're both good players actually.
But what I'm saying is, even if Spence was to say as a squad option, let's say just for example, or like a backup option, I don't know what you want to call it, or competition option, he will get minutes because we've got 2 cups in Europe next season.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to play at least, I think, 20 to 30, 20-ish something games, I'd say, because we can't play Porro every single game, especially with the intensity of football that we play. It'll be stupid. So I don't know. I'm quite.
But the problem is,
before the friendly, I was like 100% he's leaving. Now I'm in like.
But I agree with what you're saying, bro. You know, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Let's come to the conclusion that Ange does have his favourites because we have seen it. When he didn't have centre backs, he decided to not use the centre backs that were there, right? So he does have his favourites. This could be all pre-season, just putting people on the window.
No, I'm not saying he's going to stay. I'm just saying I think there's a slight chance he might stay now because of the homegrown thing. Because also Spurs are struggling with Skip now. They might have to keep Skip for homegrown if they're going to sell Spence, or maybe it'll be the other way around. I don't know. It depends because it's a big issue for us. So there is a very small possibility he'll stay. I still agree with you though. I think he's probably going to go, but you just don't. I think you don't know. Unfortunately, with Tottenham, everything's all up in the air till like the last day of the window.
Yeah, it's interesting because we don't know until this transfer window's over what position even Archie Gray's going to play in because we know he can fill in as fullback. I want to see him in midfield personally. as a number 6. I want to see him given a go as a number 6. But we'll see. Although he can play multiple roles, he showed he can play right back. Now we know he can play at centre back. I mean, where can't he play? You know what I mean? Like he looks game ready. He looks game ready to me. And fans have argued, well, there's not a pathway for the youngsters, and others are saying, well, we need to bring quality in, and all. We need to do both, don't we?
The problem with the attitude argument for me also is the whole Tony link, because for me, Tony has the same sort of thing as Spencer.
You need attitude in order for you to be a top player. The best players, and I'm talking about history wise now. I'm going back. All the best players had an attitude.
I know, but what I'm saying is the attitude argument saying that Ange doesn't fancy him because of his attitude. To me, means that then.
Hello, Ellie.
Hello.
Long time. Sorry, Haz. Go for it, bro. Sorry about that.
Don't worry. Therefore, we shouldn't be getting Tony then, because if he doesn't like Spence because of his attitude, sure, we're gonna have the same problems with Ivan Tony.
Yeah, we'll come to that. But as you've just arrived, Ellie, we'll put you straight on the spot. Right? So,
I don't mind.
Right. Your player, you watch the game. Your player ratings for you during that Hartley Spurs.
What, for all the players?
No, pick out a few that you thought.
All right, yeah. I would say I'll give Mikey Moore a 9. Excellent. I'll give Archie Gray an 8, because he was just slightly behind him, in my opinion, because Mikey Moore was so brilliant. Lancashire, I'll give an 8. Devine, I'll give a 7, because he wasn't quite on it. He can play better than that. Scarlett, I'll give a 6, because he was like he muffed 2 chances. And I love the player, but Tyrese Hall, just for that drop of the shoulder and past the player, I'll give him an 8. He was excellent. I love Tyrese.
I hate you all. You're all doing it to me, right? I mean, Bergvall. No, he's got everyone eulogized, and fair enough, because they played well. 55 touches, Bergvall, right? More touches in the final third than anyone else. He slipped the ball through for the Mikey Moore goal.
Yeah.
The reason I'm giving him a bit of praise is I'd give him an 8 anyway, but the reason is because out of him and Gray coming in, Spurs fan base were having healthy discussions about who would settle in quickly. We've all gone for Gray because he's got the championship experience. I wonder whether Bergvall might have to adapt physically a bit more to the game. I didn't see that at all. He was slow starter. He started slow, but once he got into the game, he was always to receive the ball. What I liked about these kids was their vision, and they moved the ball quickly. What I look in videos, when you see a video and people say to me, "Oh, but what you look in videos, they always look good." I said, I look for players with vision who move the ball quickly, can make things happen. And we've got kids that can do that now. It's a long way to go. It's going to be interesting to see how they perform when we play the last 2 friendlies against Bayern Munich in Korea and at Spurs Stadium. That'll be a bit more telling. They'll be given a stiffer test tomorrow. I know you're going to QPR tomorrow, Ellie, but they'll be given, because their league starts a week before ours. So I should imagine QPR will go quite strong, I should imagine, on that. No, that, I mean, obviously, it was a fun watch. I mean, like, I'd have preferred... it was hard to see how testing it was. I don't know you in the chat how you value the Scottish Premier League. I think it's on par with their Championship. Others say it's less than that. I mean, like, it's hard to judge. I don't know how they analyse that and do that, So
What did you?
I think the Championship's about right from little of the SPL I've seen. It's about the right level to say it is. I think.
Celtic and Rangers would do all right when they come in Premier League. I think they'd be halfway.
Yeah, halfway tops. Probably in the bottom 6, 8. I would probably think for me, Yeah.
So I'm just having a smoke quickly.
That's all right.
Sorry about it.
Just don't jack up online, right? Okay.
What did you all give Jed Spence? Because I'm going to give him a 9. He was excellent.
We didn't really do player ratings. I was just asking yours because I went round the panel. I mean, like TJ watched the game like we did. Charlie,
I haven't seen any of it. So.
And they just watched highlights, so they wouldn't actually see what are players doing off the ball, then periods of play when goals are not being scored. You know, they wouldn't have seen that. So, which is fair enough. You know, so
I gave Jed Spence before I go for my smoke in it. I gave him a 9-10. For me, he was phenomenal. But Mikey Moore was the better player, to be honest with you. So if I gave Spence a 9, Mikey Moore has to have a 10. I'll be right back.
Yeah, because he expanded the play so well, and his movement was brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I could give shout outs for actually Tyrus Hall, Divine, Bergvall, Moore here, Spence and Lancashire in its second half. And even picking 5 out, I'm probably not doing justice to everyone because it was a good run out. It was a good run out. We've yet to see, like, you know, against stiffer opposition. We'll come to that. Now, if we're done with Hearts, unless any of you got anything more to add about Hearts, yeah? No?
I like Charlie because he's working out while he's
What's Charlie's been doing? It's exercise there in the back. What's going on here?
I'm bloody riled up. I'm looking forward to Tottenham. I've got my music up in the background talking about Tottenham and I'm working out. It's a dream come true, really.
Yeah.
You got no hope in me doing any of that. I'm far too old.
I've got my weights downstairs, but I've got a little bit of arthritis in my arms, so I'm not going to go there.
I was slightly disappointed Santiago didn't get time. If he came on, I missed it because, like, I am a fan, right? And the season before last, he didn't have the greatest season. I've been watching under 21s all the time, and this season he's kicked on and looks a player as well. But this is the thing, you see, when your team are winning 2 trophies, they'll look good, don't they? The only positions we don't seem to be shining and have people's coming through and is at fullback. Noel John's had to play at fullback, a right back, and he's not a right back. He's been at the club since he's 10 years of age, you know, but he's not a right back. He's right-sided midfield player, isn't he? You know, so and the same as probably why Donnelly's had to play at left back because he played left back against Cambridge, you know. But my surprise in the first game was why Ashley Phillips didn't play at centre back. Because you start with Gray and Skip, you know. Well, they did okay. You know what I mean? There was no denying they did okay, you know?
Yeah.
So I want to talk a bit before we go to QPR game. I want to talk a bit about what Ange said recently. He said, which got my attention. He turned around and said, "This is why I think we'll bring a couple of players in. See if you agree, disagree, or your thoughts on it." He turned around and said, "We're still looking to bring a couple in." Now, I wanted when people asked me before last season how many players we needed, I said 8. I said we need to bring in 8. You know, I said we need to bring in a midfield 3, a front 3, and 2 defenders. Right now, at the moment, we've got Alona Werner in, who I'm not a fan of, as you know, and the 2 kids do look good, but it's a risk going with kids at the beginning of the season. It can work, it could fail, and Ange might die on the hill with it. But him to say he only wants to we're looking to bring a couple in. I mean, we know striker's the main priority, right? Where do you see the other position? And
number 6 or midfielder.
When you say a couple, that's 2 people basically.
Yeah. Which I find a little bit disturbing, right?
Yeah.
But it tells me, which makes me think that of all them youngsters that play, maybe Lancashire won't go out on loan. Maybe him and Mikey Moore will be part of the first team squad.
But the main problem that we're facing here...
It's the risk without, you know, other Reading players. It's a risk.
No, but the main problem that we're facing is, although I'm big with the youngsters, you saw the first segment, the first half of this show, I bigged up all the youngsters. The main problem is what Ange said just at the end of the season, that we're going for the title. How can you go for a couple of players? You have to bridge the gap before you go for the title.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I love the youngsters. I love what Mikey Moore's doing. I've picked up Mikey Moore. I'm loving what Bergvall's doing. I'm loving what Archie Gray. He's had his first little cameo. I'm loving it all, but that's not going to bridge the gap. Adding Tony or adding a Conor Gallagher is not going to bridge the gap. So unless I've misunderstood Ange, I feel like we're We're
Problem
missing.
is,
We're missing a
TJ,
good
is that
opportunity. We're missing a
to-
good opportunity to pounce.
when
It's
he
Spurs,
says a
man.
couple, it does. I'm not saying I agree with this, by the way. Just before anyone gets at me, it does make sense because if you're saying Archie Gray's going to be the fullback cover now /6, we've been linked with so many midfielders. I think a midfielder's a given. We're going to get one because Højbjerg's leaving. That's one player plus one more attacker because Werner's already taken that left-hand side spot. So if a couple kind of does make sense, him saying it. Not that I agree with it, and I agree that 2 players is enough for us to challenge for the title. No way in hell. Unless the 2 players are like Messi and Ronaldo or something back in their prime, I don't think it's going to happen. But what I'm saying is if he's following that logic, that Werner counts as a player, because we won't count him as a player, but he
But
will.
Haz, you were on the show when me, Haz, and Harry Scarf and Anne said that next year there's bigger things to fry. Now, for me,
You're not going to
for me, is a couple players going to bridge the gap.
No, I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying that's maybe because you know my things on Ange. That's maybe what he thinks. I don't know.
Well, if he thinks that, he better change his mind because we're going to have his guts for gutters. And if he loses a few games early doors, he's out the door. And you'll see Pochettino come in.
Well, I said Poch will be here by Christmas, so I mean,
yeah.
Brian's brought up a good point here.
Actually,
David Shear, when it comes to Basumi, he's had to have a massive season. He's only played 10 great games right now. If tomorrow's the first game, I'd start Gray or the Biss. I would agree with that totally. Basuma looked as though he had something to prove when he came on. You guys didn't watch the game, wouldn't know. He was a little bit sharp doing his twisty turns, trying to lose a player and then pass the ball to the right and the left, which is good because he needs to kick up the pants because he was pants like our midfield was towards the end, and so was our forward line. Right? No one moans about our defence, even though we scored all them, conceded all those goals, do they? No one moans about it because we know they're good players, but they're also entitled to some protection, from strikers defending from the front and midfielders helping out. So, I think Basuma could well find his place under threat this coming season. We'll see. I mean, from Gray, if Gray's not going to be used as a right back, and I want to see Gray used in the midfield actually. I wouldn't mind seeing him tried as a number 6.
What does Mark think of that? What do you think of that, Mark? When Postecoglou's saying couple of players.
Is that enough? Well, as long as a couple of players that are coming in make us better.
Yeah.
None of these kids, because they might make us better. You don't know.
Would you say Eze and Tony would be the 2 players to bring in?
Yeah, they'd be all right. Yeah, I'd take both of them in a heartbeat. But enough of this project youth. All right, you've got to have some youth team. You've got to have the future there. But we need players now. We don't need players that are not good in 5 years.
I know.
Yeah, we've been linked with Chiesa and Pedro Neto as long as
they're
free. As long as the add-ons, it's got in there about games played, you get extra money. Because let's not pay top money for players or good money for players that are going to spend half the season injured. Neto missed 19 games last season. He's a good player. Chiesa's, very good player.
Because there's none of these excuses anymore about we ain't got the money. We're the 8th richest club in the world. It's about time we started acting like it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, think big. Don't think if Postecoglou's contradicting himself, if he's saying that he wants to compete and be up the top, you're not going to do it with 2 extra signings. You're not. No. Because
why was this?
Bergvall and Gray are wet behind the ears. However good they are, they haven't been Premiership played against real men.
Why was the stadium built? To compete.
See, that's the question that that's the question we ask all the time. Why did we move out of White Hart Lane? We were 1 or 2 seasons away from going for gold. Let me be totally honest with you. That White Hart Lane was a fortress. Yeah. Now we've opened the floodgates and we've done what? I was speaking to an Arsenal fan a few months ago, and he was saying when we moved from Highbury to when he moved from Highbury to the Emirates, he was saying they opened the floodgate of mediocrity because they were in a lot of debt. And now you're actually also seeing that we get. I don't know if you've seen the news recently. There's investors, the Newcastle.
That woman.
Stavely?
Um,
Is it
the-
Stavely?
yeah,
That woman.
they obviously they've walked away from Newcastle, and investment is needed to clear out debt. But my point is this: we've moved to a stadium to compete, in my opinion, to compete for the best honours. So
Yeah.
really and truly, these 6 years, well, it's been what, less than 6 years? Well, yeah, about 6 years. 6 years since we moved into the stadium. We've been underperforming, in my opinion. We haven't got to the levels that we should have been getting to. And okay, cool. Put aside the Champions League final. If we're gonna count that as success, we didn't capitalize from that success.
No.
You know,
Well, we're on the
we've
way
gone,
down
we've,
on the Champions
we've,
League
we've
final.
actually gone backwards. If you actually
Yeah.
analyze
For me,
it, we've
we're
gone
back where
backwards.
we were in 05.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
Poch,
At the end of the day,
go on, Mark. Go on.
at the end of the day, we were all sold a dream.
Mm.
We were told moving to the new stadium will make us compete. And so making us compete is buying a load of kids, is it? Why do they charge Tottenham fans the highest ticket prices in the land?
Tell me.
70,
Yeah,
80
man,
quid
I
a
don't
ticket.
go, man.
70, 80 quid a ticket, and you go there and you pay your 80 quid for the game to watch Werner and a load of youngsters.
We have spent money, but Poch.
I wouldn't pay
this
so
is why I
much.
say
what
it
fan
might be
base
true because
got onto Poch because, like,
Right.
he wasn't backed in 518 or 19 days. And when he was back with Lo Celso and Ndombele, and like Lo Celso was only signed fully under Mourinho, not Poch, he was on loan before then,
Yeah.
it was too late. It was too late to back him. And yet, to quote Kieran Maguire, a financial expert, I think Spurs have spent something like £585 million on 29 players since the stadium opened in 2019. Now I'm saying 20 of them you could probably bin, right? And that averages works out 137 million a year. And that's with a year and a half with no gate receipts of COVID, right? So it's not like we haven't spent money, but I'll admit there's been a lot of structural changes at the club at all levels that are for the good, right? And recently we have failed better in the transfer market, and long may it continue.
Yeah.
My concern now going to this season is we're like 4 weeks away from it starting, and we haven't brought in any oven-ready players as of yet. And it looks like we might only be bringing in 2. So that is a concern for me. Listen, I'm excited about Bergvall and Gray. They will make it. In my opinion, they will make it. But this is time. And
one thing I would have to say, because I've been a bit negative, I just want to make this point quickly. One thing that we have changed in the strategy of the last 5 years, we've brought young and up-and-coming talent that will hopefully, touch wood, let me not jinx it right now before I say something and then it turns out next year we're saying these players are dusted, but they will hold value. Their value right now will double, triple, quadruple when we haven't had that before.
Is that why we bought them? Is that why we bought them?
Yeah, we've brought poor recent, like Adrian has been saying, we have spent the money. We have actually spent a lot of money. But the problem we have had is we spent money in areas that have either undervalued over a season or two. They've just undervalued. Look how long we kept. Let's be honest here. Look how long we kept Kane in this team. Look how long we've kept Son in this team. Look how long we've kept all these players. Now they're their highest value. You're not getting half of what you paid for them, you know? So really and truly, what we've done recently, we brought Gray, we brought Bergvall, we brought Ashley Phillips, we brought all these young and up and coming talent. But you also need to bring in quality players as well and experienced players to nurture these players. Because for me, having young players and not having experienced players is like two sides of the spectrum. We could either be Brighton and just pump in all these youth, or we could you have to have a balance of two. You have to have some senior pros to actually show what it is, and we don't actually have that. We don't have any born winners. Let's be totally honest there.
Is that by the time Bergvall and Gray and whatever get good, we probably would have lost Van de Ven, Romero, etc. by that point anyway.
Yeah.
So it becomes an ever-ending cycle. So
my only look. I mean, like, I'm waiting. Like, I think we're all right for next season, and that's going to be it's a big season in more ways than one, isn't it? I mean, like, Romero's won 2 Copa Americas and a World Cup, and he's got 3 years left on his contract.
Yes,
Time to worry about that. With me, any player gets down to the last 2 years, right? If they don't want to re-sign for us at 2 years, you sell them. You've got to be ruthless and sell them, because then they're saying, like, oh, I don't like what you're offering me, or I don't want to stay at the club, so I want to go. So whoever it is, whether it was Van de Ven, Romero, whoever it was, even if it break my heart for the good players to leave, if you get down to 2 years and they don't want to re-sell them, you should sell, because it just makes commercial sense to do that. Charlie, what's your take on the direction Spurs are going regarding, like, youth and bringing in players? I mean, how many would you? I mean, if I say to anybody, how many would you like to bring in? Everybody would say like 6 or 8. You know what I mean? But realistically, how many did you have your mind on that we would bring in?
Realistically, I thought we'd bring in, I think 4 or 5 players. Sorry, did you hear the music?
Yeah.
Not now.
It wasn't bad. I was just going to break a dance,
Yeah. Do you want to gym in on that? Yeah. So basically, I think we should bring in 4 players to minimum, and I think that's pretty realistic. We've already brought in 1, which is Archie Gray, young guy. Now even Ancho, we want 2 or 3 seniors. So there must be 4, because otherwise he's not listening to Ange. So I mean, if that's not happening, then we know this whole manager situation is not going to really work out, and all this stuff with Levy's not going to work. Then he's gone. But I think Ange wants 4, then that's 4. Because I can say I want 6, but he's never going to get 6, because we've seen the last couple of years it doesn't really get past that.
But for me is more to do with Ange's comments on the transfers. Like, he said, Spurs and will never sign like £100 million player. And he kind of alluded to the fact he agreed with us signing, say, 2 players for 50 million. But then another issue is with Spurs is that we'll spend loads of money on like 4 players for, say, 30 million each, rather than 2 players for 60 million each of better quality. Yeah. So this is why I have issues with the Archie Gray transfer, because if we lost 30 million there, say we go for like a Neto. I used this example another time on the show I was on, and say they want 60, 70 million. I'm just using Neto as an example. But we get to the end of the window, or like in the next 2 weeks, and we only have, say, 40 million to play with, and they want 60, 70. Well, we spent 30 million on Archie Gray, so we've lost 30 million there, where we could have bought a first teamer for 70. And then what they'll go and do, they'll go down the list from Neto to, like, I don't know, some random winger in like China or something. Yeah, but like 30 million instead.
You don't have to look at it that way. We haven't lost 30 million on Archie Gray, because he will go up in value, right? Yeah. So we bought him for 30. In 2 years' time, he'll be worth 70. Honestly,
I agree. No, I agree with what you're saying. The value will increase. I totally agree. But what Harry's saying is most teams buy youth, but also buy marquee signings.
Yeah,
and nature these youth to the value. What we're doing, we're spending our budget on youth and expecting our youth to turn into diamonds. It's like you buying water and saying, oh, hopefully in the next 10 years, this is going to turn into wine. When realistically, you should really build your team with the youth and have marquee signings. So, like, for example, we sold Kane, for example. I've been a big advocate of this. Even in fact, let's go back. We sold Vertonghen. How long did it take us to replace Vertonghen?
Yeah,
5 years. Yeah. Cool. We sold Kyle Walker. How long did it take us to replace Kyle Walker? A long time.
We haven't, have we?
We haven't
Pedro Porro in that sense. You know, we sold what is it? Musa Dembele.
We sold quality.
Yeah.
And we still haven't replaced Moussa Dembele.
Definitely not.
We got rid of Ericsson. We still haven't replaced these players. So it's not the fact that we're bringing in players to fill in positions. We're going cheap and expecting these players to become stars. What we should be doing, we sold Kane. We should be talking to Ivan Toney or
Osimhen
at the time a top quality striker. A like-for-like replacement. That's how big clubs move. If Man City was to sell a top player or Arsenal was to sell a top player, we're not hearing that they're going to bring in second fiddle, third fiddle. We're seeing that they're going to bring in the main guy. That's the problem that Spurs have had. We go cheap, and look, I'm not saying we don't spend the money. We spend the money wrong. 1 and 2 players have more value than having 6 and 7 players. And I think Estelle made a very good point a few months back. Every season, it seems like we buy 5 players. 1 amazing or 7, yeah. Oh, you saw the stream, innit? 7.
I know. I don't know if I was on it.
It's a good point, isn't it? Because if we've averaged 137 million a season since the stadium opened, and we've been bringing in like 7 players for that amount of money rather than just bringing in 3 or 4. So it's a good point. I'm agreeing.
If we're averaging, say, 140 million spend, that 140 million spend, in my opinion, should be on 2 70 million pound players.
Yeah.
Well,
I
get where you're coming on, but the only time you normally play the money up full is when there's a release clause, and a club like Palace say to us, well, if you don't pay the 60 million in one hit, we're not releasing, as part of the release clause, we're not selling the player. It gives us the right to hold on to the player. Now, normally we know a lot of deals. The Archie Gray deal, we know Leeds are in financial turmoil a bit, so we don't know how much was put down on that deal. We've been given a valuation on what the player cost. But my argument has always been, if you've got only 100 million to spend, you can put 20 million pound down payments on 60 million pound players. So to me, the money's there. There's no excuse for the club not to get the players in. And I thought, right, prior to DJ Spence having his good game, because I really don't know what's going to happen with him now. None of us know, but the fan base think, oh, he's still going. Others think he'll stay. So we still don't know what's happening with him. But prior to that, I dismissed Reguilón and Spence because they weren't even bench warmers last season, right? But we had 4 bench warmers we want to get rid of, which are Gil, Lo Celso, Højbjerg, and Emerson, right? Not to upset Ellie. So to me, I thought, well, if those 4 are going, we've got to bring 4 in. But now it looks like Ange might have seen a fair bit, because that recent interview said we're still looking to bring a couple in. And that, to me, I find a bit alarming, unless, I'm like that with Tony, because there's been so much talk about Tony, good and bad, indifferent, whatever. We know he can do it in the Premiership, but you don't want to bring a bad apple in and make the whole lot go bad. You know what I mean? The whole barrel full go bad. So we don't know whether, so we don't know about him. Eze, I think every Spurs fan would take Eze in a heartbeat tomorrow. Like, you take him, he would be a marquee signing.
What do you think about the Chiesa links, Adrian? Do you think there's any truth in that?
Yeah, I do. I do think there's truth in the links, because he's too good.
What are you talking about?
Chiesa, the Italian winger.
Federico Chiesa, the Juventus.
Yeah,
he's like 17,
he's not.
It's really cheap.
Yeah, he's not that old, is he? Was he 27?
26. He's 26. Yeah.
He's 27 this season, right? So he's not that old. You read all the reports. He's unplayable, but they seem to be having a bit of a clear out. Juve. They need money. This is what it is. They need the money. So rumour is we're in talks, and that would be Paratici. We're in talks, and Paratici would be saying to our recruitment, get this guy in, right?
I do like him. My worry with him is his injury issues.
And he tends, I think he tends to. I think he tends to play on the left as well. We got Sonny and we got Werner, and if Eze comes in, he tends to play on left side midfield as well. See,
that was it was the biggest alarming factor, and I know this whole topic about Werner has kind of like dragged out season on season, but that's the biggest alarming factor the fact that we're going to sign someone like Werner when there is alternative midfield. Okay, I'm going to call it midfielders, attacking midfielders or wingers that you could get for less of a price, out there. And we happenly opened our floodgates to Werner. We said Werner is the one for us, which it's just alarming because it seems like we're going cheap. That's the biggest problem. The problem that I have is,
a week,
I mean,
he's like the third highest paid player apparently.
Yeah,
exactly.
You guys know the system, didn't you? And likes to play with two fast, wide wingers that hug the touchline. I don't think this Werner signing was forced on Ange in January. It was an opportunity signing when we got him in on January, but I believe Ange wanted him because he suits the system, right? Now, so does Johnson, who I queried as well when we went in for him. Another player brought in who isn't oven ready. And my argument has been, and to those in the chat, I mean, and I keep banging on about it on podcasts that I appear on, that you go back to when Poch, when we had the acronym DESK,
Dele,
Ericsson, Son, and Kane.
Yeah.
How many goals did those guys score for us? Sonny and Kane were getting 45 goals for us, right? Easy between them. That's without Dele, chipping in.
Dele had 20 in one season, didn't he?
Yeah, and Ericsson. Now, last season, right? Arsenal scored since 1992. It took an average of 82 goals to win the Premier League, right? Now, that's gone up to about 87 because in the last 10 seasons now, I think Man City have won 7 championships. 2 or 3 times they scored more than 100 goals. Arsenal scored 90 goals last season and they only finished second, right? Where are we going to get 90 goals from, guys? Where are we getting 90 goals from?
Not from Werner.
9 goals.
I'll tell you what, Werner missed 90.
My argument is, it's the same again. Yeah, I like the look of Neto. I've seen a bit about him. I haven't seen much of Chiesa. I'm sure Danny could inform us all about Chiesa. He watches the Italian league and how good he is. But I've read reports about Chiesa, rave reports. I mean, I don't know his strike rate. I don't know Pedro Norris.
He got 10 goals in 30 games last season. That's what I saw.
That's a good strike rate. 1 in 4 is good for a winger. It was always considered good for a winger. But so where are we getting the goals from? Under Ange boy.
How much are they looking to pay for Chiesa?
It's only like
20 million.
It's worth it.
Cool. Because you know how much I've been banging on about Adeyemi. Man, we should have got this guy, man, instead of Werner. It's like 50 million, 60 million for Adeyemi.
Werner down the left wing, though.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I'll have you instead of Werner down the left wing, to be fair.
Werner, I will do a better job,
I'll come out of retirement if you want.
Trust me, I'll do a better job. I'll play with passion.
The thing that gets me with some Spurs fans is, listen, I love watching Ginola. I love watching players like Waddle and all that. Even like our diminutive winger Aaron Lennon. I love watching them play.
I love Lennon.
Lennon was so Townsend as well.
And that's the sort of style, and fans accepted it back in the day with those players because their expectations weren't raised until we got Martin Yole and then we got Poch in, who we always insist now on top 4. So it's different, right? The expectations were lower, right? We nearly faced bankruptcy and things like that, So that's different. But now I don't care if we've got Messi on one wing and Ronaldo on the other wing. If they're wingers that can't score goals like Werner, who's never going to have a higher ceiling, I've got some hope with Johnson because he's young. He's got a ceiling and potential to improve. But with Werner, I've got no confidence whatsoever. He'll have an impact on games, but it's goals we need. And the guy, he's got no composure in front of goal. He's like, you might as well put Emerson Royal there because he's got no composure either, right? No, it's true, though. I mean, some argument is I always try to be balanced and objective in all debates, and just hit you with the facts. Goals. We need players that are going to come in and score goals, and that includes midfielders. So even if Bergvall and Gray, I don't think Gray's got a great scoring record. I like the players, but it's a difference between liking a player and can they take you forward. This is why sometimes everyone's.
We don't have no specialists anymore. Look, apart from Son, that Son is a shooter. We don't have that many born courageous shooters, and that's the problem that lacks with Spurs. So
like
if you
Scott
add
Bolton.
someone like a Tony, look again, it's hit and miss. If we add someone like a Tony, maybe it could.
We'll get
Even that,
Tony
man, you
back.
still have Werner, man. See, that Werner was such a missed opportunity. Unless he does the obvious, then you promote one of the youth, and I would love
From what happened with Werner,
Mikey Moore, man.
with the money he's on, you'd expect him. He's going to play a lot more than we think because he'll start every European game, every cup game. He'll probably start the odd Premier League game. Like, this guy ain't going to sit on the bench the whole time. I don't think. I think he's going to start a lot more than you think.
Yeah,
No,
well, we will
frustrating.
because
wanna
we've
see
It's
got
going to be tough.
48 games this season. You could play 2 separate 11-a-sides, and they could both, all the players, barring injuries and suspensions, would get 24 games each. It won't work out the way because better players are going to get about 30 games, aren't they? Then if they're in the red zone, they'll have to be rested if they're not injured or
But if we
suspended.
don't sign a striker, because people saying that it might not happen, then Werner's probably going to start because he'll play Son in the middle and Werner on the left.
Who are these people? Are they crazy
Well,
people?
You see, the thing. What's your take on this, Charlie? Come on, let's see your take. I'll shut up. Come on.
He's itching to go.
No, I was just saying, everyone, drop the flipping like button, subscribe. We're doing our best. We're all doing our best. Sorry, can you repeat the question one more time, Adrian? I was just too much in the.
Well, we're
promotion.
having a bit of discussion on like players to bring in and whether they can actually score goals, basically, because we're going to need to be outscored. Look, we should be looking to win the league. I mean, I want the Europa League next year. That's my biggest hope, right?
But, Adrian,
it's our best chance because you get 8 bites of the cherry because we got to play 8 games. We could meet Man City away in the League Cup and go out. Same could happen in the FA Cup in the first week in January, right? But at least with the Europa League, if you screw up in that, then you've really screwed up because you've had 8 bites of the cherry. You've got 8 games just to get through to the next section, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought last season we were all saying we want the 6. We really want the 6. We really want someone to hold the midfield, do all this. And now we've got an Archie Gray who is maybe not fit for it, but he can't score goals, but he is made to be a 6, an 8, or a thing. So it's pretty logical that we're not getting all the players that are scoring. Same with Lucas Bergwijn as a creator. We're getting these players so that we can create more because our creative midfield is not on top. So it's pretty logical that we are not getting all the scorers. The scorer should come when we have the creativeness to give them the goal, to give them the chance to shoot. So now I think it's a good time to get the attackers and now to get the good goal scorers. But who we just bought, Lucas Bergwijn and Archie Gray, are both creators. Archie Gray is more of a defensive player, is very good on the ball, can make good dribbles. Same with Bergwijn, sees the tight passes, all of this. Without those players, we cannot make chances. We cannot get through tight defenses. And that's what we really need. So I think scoring is a big problem, but these things are super important. And I think we're forgetting the important things of that.
Yeah, I think we're going to see. I think we'll see a midfield 3 at some stage, maybe earlier. I think it'll be Maddison because he's creative. I think you'll see Bergwijn as well because he's creative with the slide through pass as well. With someone like Gray as a 6, Basuma as a 6, or someone like that behind them. I can see that happening, and Basuma sitting on the bench and because he's got up his game, which will be a good thing. I'm glad he's got competition. We got 7 midfielders, guys, at the moment. Without bringing, I'm not going to include Eze as a midfielder because to me he's quality, right? And I want him in, right? We'll see if he's the only one brought in to appease the fans because you've got the 4 that we know can perform on their day. You've got Basuma, Sarr, Maddison, and who have I left at? Bentancur, sorry, if he's got a future at the club. That's another issue. And then you've got Skip, Gray, and Bergwijn. So that's 7, and you need 6, really, doubling them up. But, we've got Europe. So that's 7 midfielders without bringing them in. We know we've got 6 good, well, we've got 5 good defenders, right? Because you've got to fit Dragusin in when everyone's fit. So that's not really a problem, although I think we should bring a left back in, right? Because if Gray can double up as a right back, or as Spence is saying, I'd like to see a left back looking. So I want more than 2 players. I want a striker. I want another wide. I want a striker. Give me a striker, an Eze, and a left back. And I would be not 100% content because I wanted 4 players in, but that would do me. Bradley Lockhart.
Adrian, is that I said I wanted a whole new front line. Because we signed Werner now, it's not going to happen. Because we already took that spot now. Like, it's not going to happen. We might get Eze in a striker at most, I think, and that's about it.
And Solomon wasn't outstanding against Hearts, but the cameo roles I see him play on the right when he came on, he takes players on. He's not frightened to go past players. And the game away at Burnley when we won 5-2, and he got the 2 assists for Son's hat trick. He looked good, but I haven't seen enough minutes of him to form an opinion. But if you don't hit the ground running and give him a 5-star gold-plated performance, fans will say you're crap. Basically, some of their fan base will say you're rubbish. So we need to. Well, Andrew's got these pre-season games now to decide.
But that's what the pre-season's for. The pre-season's for to give opportunity to these players, and it's also for Ange to understand who will cut it out for the next season. And I want to see Ange be a bit more ruthless. He's had what? Okay, cool. He's had 2 pre-seasons and a whole league, right? To assess his current team. If we're still sitting here and saying Werner's not good enough, I don't want to include Johnson in this talk, but if we're still doubting our attacking outlet, there must be something wrong. He needs to regroup or get 2 signings. If he's saying we have a couple of signings, I could accept if we're going for a striker and an attacking midfielder.
Yeah,
you know.
And if he's only talking 2 signings, you don't sell Richarlison. Richarlison
exactly,
can do the job. He's another one. You see, we've got so many we got so many of these players that last year. I mean, like when them injuries hit us, and after that Chelsea game at home, you know, our season fell apart. But I mean, like to be honest, to give a bit of fairness, Emerson, Roland, Davies didn't do such a bad job as a centre pairing. They seemed to steady the ship. We weren't going to kick on, but we steadied our way through, and we got 5th. How we got 5th was a miracle. You know, I don't know if Bees fans thought we'd get that at the beginning of the season, like the game went. You know, so Ange to get us 5th, round of applause. I think you've done really well. Now you are we're led to believe you're being back. Werner has to be his signing. The loan
it has to be.
He clearly is. No, he clearly likes him.
His signing, you know, so he clearly likes him.
I want Ange to be more ruthless. I want Ange to pick his squad and pick the players that will be cut out for his system. And only Ange will know his players, which we're outside looking in, and obviously we're seeing short performances and performances that are not really good. But if Ange has a plan, and this is my biggest concern, you have to get the right players in. So I definitely need a striker to come in, and I definitely need a winger to come in, because right now we're going to be lining up the same way we lined up last season, if nothing changes.
Exactly. I mean, we're going to the season with hope, not necessarily confidence, although I'm always hopeful. You've got to have hope when you go into a new season that you're going to do well, win a trophy or whatever. But the reason I say that, if you had quality positions, if you had Kane up front with Son and you had recognised wingers, you're going in with proven confidence. We're not going into the new season with proven confidence because we don't know. We could hit really lucky. All these players could be the serendipity, a happy accident, like they could click and we could go. Do I deep down believe that we can start off with 8 wins and 2 draws like last season after what was a crap pre-season? No. That's a record. That's a Premiership record, 8 wins and 2 draws. We're going to match that? I can't see it. I'd love to. I doubt it.
Look, I doubt it, but then there's a bit of me that is optimistic, and I think all Spurs fans have to have this optimism, you know.
It's blind delirium. It is blind delirium.
Yeah. we go into the season and we get a few wins, and then the card throws like, oh, we could actually do it, but it's always...
Look, this season, though, our first 5 games even are harder than last on paper, I'd argue. Because we've got Leicester away on the first day,
That's going to be a difficult game.
That's going to be a really difficult match. Yeah.
I don't want to be negative so far, and I don't want to speak it into existence, innit? I think we're going to lose that game.
No, I think we're going to lose as well. 2-1 probably.
Yeah, but Dan,
Yeah.
yours and has rather yours particular losses. What's your take, Mark? Do you think like you're not optimistic going into the new season?
I always try to be optimistic, but they just. I'm 50 odd now. They've let me down so many times. It's on the verge. Well, every year I say we're going to do the double, the triple, the quad, but you know that's just a laugh. I mean,
every year you say we're going to win a trophy.
Yeah,
it never happens.
even now.
For me, the Werner signing got the stuffing out of me. That was the problem. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, after that, I checked out. I was like, oh, great, another youngster. Well, another young player.
As soon as you see players like that coming in, then, you know, we all know the stadium was just built as a cash machine. That's all it is. It's a cash generator. But, you know, it's an entertainment venue that happens to have a football pitch in the middle of it. That's all it is. You know,
it's definitely a cash generator because
definitely.
Travis Scott was singing there the other week. I was working. I was working, so I know that Travis Scott was singing, and apparently there was a record amount of sales. So
I know people. Who was the concert before that? Because people that I know. Who?
Pink, I think.
Pink. That was it. I know people that, and they said to me, "It's a fantastic stadium." And I said, yeah, well, unfortunately, I said, realistically, it was built for Pink concerts. But, you know, there is meant to be a football team now, supposedly.
I'm hoping we go in a new season. To me, I don't know if other Spurs fans will do this. I'm parking all thoughts of the FA Cup to that first week in January, right? Ange should learn his lesson on the League Cup last year and going hard on the League Cup. I mean, you could get an unlucky away draw against Man City or Liverpool or something like that. But the reason I'm so keen on the Europa League, one, I love the competition. I've seen us win it twice. And two, we got 8 games. So if we win 4 of them, usually 4 or 5 gets you into the next round. So it gives you 3 games that are sort of dead rubbers. You can rest players, younger players, do what you want. I mean, that's down. And we see where we are when we get to playing the first game. You know? So August, then few games, and so Charlie, your hopes for the new season?
I think we'll do all right. I think we'll get top 4. I don't know, man. I just hope we get top 4 because everyone is improving, and the only team that's really improving is United. The rest are all just slacking on the transfer window. Same with Aston Villa, they're doing good, but the rest I'm not seeing anything. So is that positive for us? I think so, because if there's only 2 other teams improving and the rest isn't, that means that we're staying on the same playing field. I mean, if we get the transfers, I think we have a chance on getting 2nd or 3rd. If we don't make the transfer, this season is going to be a season we won't remember fondly. And I think we're going to have the first 10 games are going to be good, and after that is going to be a steep downhill because there'll be injuries plaguing our squad, and there'll be no backups for us to help us get that highest place. I think with Europa League, we'll get to the semi-finals, then get knocked out by a bloody Croatian team or a bloody Slovenian team. Because you know how it goes. We'll play, I don't know what, we'll play the under-18 team, and then, I don't know.
You haven't been hanging out with Hez, have you?
So, listen, I'm always very positive with this, but I just put on my realism glasses because I could say we're going to win the Europa League, we're going to win the FA Cup, and then maybe we'll win the Carabao Cup, and then on top of that, cherry on the cake, we'll win the Premier League. I mean, it's all amazing stories, but in the end, we have to be realistic. I haven't seen I haven't seen a trophy in my entire life with England or with Tottenham. I know. I mean, I'm a trophyless man. I want to see something.
We've seen a trophy. Me and you have. We're about the same age. We've seen the Audi Cup, haven't we?
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness, you're right.
And water toll.
And the water toll cup. Don't forget that.
Yeah. The water.
Oh
toll.
You guys, you made me forget.
And Tiger Cup. It was the Tiger Cup last year, wasn't it? In Korea.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
gosh, the Tiger Cup, that's like the biggest competition in the world, isn't it? That's like
Yeah.
where
So we have lifted our armpits.
yes,
Our
we have.
armpits. You know what? Our armpits are not
Yeah,
sweaty right now. They're
got
just
a-
like freshly
Well,
trimmed.
yeah,
Because we got
You know?
a deodorant sponsor. Of course we didn't.
Yeah, 100%.
we got onion armpits because we don't lift them.
Yeah.
That's why.
Well, I hope we will get a deodorant sponsor next season, because otherwise it's going to be very smelly when we lift that trophy.
Which one?
We just need
So-
one. You know what it is? Let me be honest with you. We just need a trophy. We need to lift one. Once we lift one, we can say this curse, because I'm starting to believe in the curse. I'm believing that Tottenham is cursed. We just need one. I don't care what it is. It could be the Carabao Cup. It could be the FA Cup. We just need one trophy. One trophy. Then we can start saying, okay, cool, this team can win trophies. But until we don't lift the first, we're never going to lift any.
We've got a chance with the Carabao, man. I'm not going to lie, because Carabao Cup, nobody really does their best. If we just bloody play our first team, play the most defensive football there is, I know we won't. Just win it. I mean, that would do massive. I mean, I just want to see a trophy. I mean, the Tiger Cup isn't doing it for me anymore. I've seen a tiger in real life, very impressive creatures, but that thing was not as impressive as the trophy. I mean, no, the tiger was more impressive than the trophy. Come on, guys. I mean, listen, we're Tottenham supporters and we're England supporters. I think we all are. And the last 50 years, maybe 50 years ago, we won all those trophies. Since then, we've won nibbits. We've won nothing. We've won nothing special.
2008.
Okay.
2008.
Okay, then. I've got a question for you guys right now. Let's talk about bringing in. We need to bring marquee signings in, right? I only see one out there, Eze, to me. But I mean, like, who in your opinion is, including Eze, would be a marquee signing for us?
I will tell you straight. I have my signings already selected. Adeyemi from Bayern Munich, 22 years of old, plays on either wing. He is young. He's up and coming.
Dortmund guy, right? Isn't it?
Dortmund, yeah.
Yeah.
Adeyemi, winger, 22 years of age, up and coming. He's a marquee signing. We give Dortmund 60 to 70 million. He is the perfect winger for Tottenham. We were always linked before Nico Williams blew up for
Spain. Yeah.
blew up for Spain. We were linked to Nico Williams, and back then I was saying we should get Adeyemi. Trust me, I don't know why we're not linked to him, and I don't know the reason why no other team is linked to him, but he is the perfect person. You've got a lot of I would even say Tony is a marquee signing. Eze is a marquee signing. Why don't we get these players through the door?
I think Eze's quite a simple deal to do because he's got the release clause. So I don't know.
And he's a Spurs fan. Come on, man. It makes no sense.
But for me, I really like the Kvaratskhelia. I think.
And the winger.
Well, this is just true.
I know you mean.
Because Kulusevski, they want Kulusevski Napoli, so can't we just do a deal?
A swap deal, pay 60 million on top.
Yeah.
That guy is good, but he's expensive. He's a real player. He's a player you would see 20 years ago. He is a real guy.
But his dad said that he's not happy that he's there because they changed format like 3 or 4 managers last season, and he thinks that his son should leave. So there's like little hope there, and if we could put some money down plus Kulusevski, maybe we could get him.
Your take on marquee signings out there other than Eze? You got any in your mind?
I'd like a Tony. I know he's got attitude issues, but I just saw him in the Euros, and that just basically turned the light switch in my head. Gyökeres, I'm not too sure on him, but if we can get him for a good price, Gyökeres, the guy who scored 40 goals and done anything.
We've been with him yesterday, actually.
He's done nothing the rest of his career, but he's done one season.
He was at Coventry, wasn't he? He was at Coventry.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be a market signing, but I don't want to spend more than. I don't. But listen, we're not a big club at this point, and everything we say, we're not a big club, so we can be dreaming about all these players. In trophy wise, player-wise, we're not a big club. We should not be. I don't know why we're all thinking we're going to get bloody Ronaldo's and Kvaratskhelia. Like all these guys, they're out of our reach right now. They're all out of our reach. The players don't want to come to our club because our club isn't performing well. I mean, we've had one good season, but it's not an attractive club at the moment. Maybe Ange Postecoglou is taking it up, but if you look at the last 20 years, I still like. I mean, I don't see why the big players would want to come to us. I just don't see it.
But Charlie, there is some like attractiveness to Spurs. It's just I just don't think we're willing.
If we were serious, we would go for Isaac.
I want Isak so badly, man. You have no idea.
Yeah, no. If we were serious, look, I know we're talking about Tony, but if we were a serious club and we desperately needed a striker, and we desperately do need a striker, if Newcastle say 80 million, you will put 80 million on him. He's worth it.
I think they want
The same way Arsenal needed Declan Rice, and at the time they quoted 100 million.
It was 100 million,
right? Yeah, and because Arsenal need a Declan Rice player, they put the money down. Money talks. If you have the money, you put it down. So for me, if we really wanted to make marquee signings, there are players out there. You just have to be willing to pay. Be willing to pay the buck for the money.
The rumours out there is that we are talking with Jonathan David's agents. And he fits
I'm not a big fan of that signing.
I watched him 2 years ago. I thought tapping merchant, to be honest with you. But he's had 2 seasons in France. God help us, though. You know, we brought NG and Kudu and then Dombelli for France. We should never sign another French player with an N in his surname, right? Because yeah. So something, and the reason I think we might get him, I'm undecided. I really can't decide on the strikers. I don't know about Tony and all the rumours surrounding him, his baggage, right? And, you know, Jimenez didn't have a great Copa America, did he as well? And he tailed off towards the end of the Dutch season. Charlie watches Dutch football, doesn't rate him.
Don't like Jimenez. He's a bit like Maddison. He's got a very good first half of the season or a very good second half of the season. The rest of the season, he just doesn't compete. I mean, Parrott scored more goals in the last 8 games than Jimenez did. That does show you a bit. Jimenez is a very lanky, big player. He's not very good on the ball. And the clips you will see, you'll think he's an amazing player, but in real life, he doesn't do a lot. Strikers are usually systematical players, and that's what we'll see. Groycrest had an amazing season. Will he do it under Ange? Jonathan David scoring a lot of goals for Lyon. Will he do it under Ange? It's all with strikers. It's a bit. You could literally get a 3rd division striker, and if he fits your system perfectly, he'll score 30 goals. I think we just need a striker for our system, and not think he's a very good striker. He's doing it all this. We should just literally be looking at how a player can suit our system. Because if you look at it, all the strikers joining big, smaller clubs and are performing very well, fit in the system like a glove, and have been scoring rockets. Have been scoring the whole season because the system's built around them. And that's why I don't want to buy a proven striker, because you never know if they'll fit in your system.
So which striker would you get then? If we need someone that fits the system, Charlie, if you want me asking. I know it's on my show, but...
Right now, I don't see anyone really fitting our system. I don't know, because it's really hard. I think, Jonathan David, he's fast. He's got a good tap in with the wings, Werner and Johnson throwing in those balls. I mean, we could do that, but it's just what I'm basically saying. It's really hard to
I think we'll go for Jonathan David. He fits the profile. He's 24. He's younger. If it don't work out, you'd get some of your money back, and you're only looking to pay 25 million for him. I think he's less of a risk to bring in that respect, but is he a solution up front? Like you said, he is fast. I've watched him. He can score, and in theory, you should be able to put. In theory, I mean, Richarlison should get a lot more goals under Ange ball if he's got them psychological problems and injury problems out. Although he's out with a calf injury at the moment, again, you see, then and I think you have to keep him. I think you have to keep Richarlison because you just need that extra striker through the middle in depth. You have to
today, someone put in the comments, but today there was reports saying that Saudi actually won him and he's willing to go for 60 million now, apparently, Richarlison.
Well, then you sell him. If you're offered 50
but I wouldn't sell him for 60 million.
No?
I wouldn't sell Richarlison for 60 million. I would keep him.
Yeah.
And the reason why I would keep Richarlison, look, personally, if Saudi's come in calling, I'm expecting 70 to 80 million, then I will sell him. But if it's for 60 million, that's the maintained value that we bought him for.
Okay, TJ, the question is then, as you would keep him, why would you keep him?
He's the extra option. Because right now, we don't even know who's coming in. And instead of losing two strikers, because Richarlison should have been the person to replace Kane. And if we sell Richarlison, we are left with no strikers. That's including Kane and nobody. No strikers. And even Villas is not even up for the task. So for me, we have to keep at least one of the strikers. If you're not, if the plan is to bring in a striker before the end of the window, then yeah, we can entertain it. But if we're not going to bring in a striker, don't sell him. You've just left your. It's like you're saying you're going to sell your, because technically, I'm going to say this with a pinch of salt. Technically, Richarlison is our main striker. So you're selling your main striker and you're pulling your pants down if you don't get a replacement.
I agree, TJ, fully. The only difference with Ange is, and we only seen him for one season, is when he's been with other clubs, he's always played a sort of a Brennan Johnson type player through the middle up front as his number 9. Now we know, to me, Sonny's not a number. He's not a number 9. He's an inside left winger, isn't he? And he can play on the right wing as well. He scored plenty of goals on the right wing. You know, he done David Luiz at Wembley and Chelsea when he ran from the halfway line. He scored curlers on that side of the pitch into the box against Leicester away. I remember in one away game at Leicester and things like that. So he scores on the right. He cut in for the right and scored against Man City in the Champions League, you know, which I thought the keeper should have done better with. But you know, so he does. Son can play on the right as well. But I don't see Sonny as a number 9.
Exactly. So I don't see him as a left winger either, personally, because I don't think he has the patience.
But this is my point. If we are entertaining the fact that we're going to be selling Richarlison, isn't that going to leave us open to a weaker front line? And you're relying on Werner, Johnson, Manir Solomon, and who else, bro? Who else? Who else is going to step up to? So this is my point.
All right,
my point is this, isn't it? This is my point. Even though, look, you've been streaming with me for a while. 3 years. I've said, you know, my opinion about Richarlison, yeah? Yeah. Yes, cool. I want a better striker. I don't think he's good enough, personally. However, I'm not going to watch my club pull their pants down and not have a replacement. That's because I need someone to come in. And if what Ange is saying, we're going to be only signing a couple. I hope a couple is a striker and a winger. I'm ditching the sentiment. I'm ditching the DM now because a couple. Yeah, I'm ditching a DM and I'm ditching a right back and a centre back and all of this talks of getting another defense. A couple is a striker and a winger. Exactly, it has to be them two positions. But that's how I see it, though. Maybe I'm wrong.
Do you think he said it in a sense that, say, if we didn't sell anyone, we'd bring 2 in? Because if we were to sell Højbjerg, you kind of have to bring a midfielder in, don't you? Or not?
Exactly.
Well, if Højbjerg's going, you've still got the 7, haven't you? You've still got the 7 I mentioned earlier. The 4 main ones from last season, plus Bergvall, plus Gray, plus Skip. So we've got 7 midfielders without, we're
hoping that Bergvall and see, this is another thing with youngsters now. We're hoping that Bergvall and Gray are ultimately first team players.
This is
which shouldn't be the case. In a normal team, your youngsters shouldn't just have an avenue in. There should be a step-by-step process to embed the players in, and we've seen it with the biggest teams. Foden. Before Foden started play, look, he had a bad Euros. I'm not talking about Foden's performance in the Euros, but I'm talking about before Foden even set the world alight. Pep kind of like managed him. He didn't throw him straight from the get-go. So if we're saying that Gray and Bergvall are just going to step right into our squad is shit. I'm sorry, mind my language.
As well, TJ, like for them that age to tell them straight from the off, oh, you are starting 70% of the games or something. I don't know, 50% of the games.
I would like to include Eze as our 8th midfielder, just to give us that extra edge there, because he can glide past players.
But then we say this, but we're in with Jonathan David for like 25 million.
Yeah, but Eze can play left midfield, department on left wing. So like you've got him as he can play multiple roles on the left side, and even as a cam. So number 10 even. So you can bring Eze in to do that, and then you've now got 8 midfielders, right? But we still need that striker, unless, I mean, if Joe Velez or Lancashire, who got 25 goals, he scored again, like he scored hatfuls of goals, but he is young. If them two really start it in their straps in these remaining games, and Ange should really have a look at them. And while we're looking, I still think we're going to get Jonathan David.
But isn't that too much to put on our youngsters? I get. Look, I am. Look, the first half of this show, I was really optimistic about the youngsters, but now we're actually saying that the youngsters are going to be the mainstay of our team, and I think, look, pre-season is a good time to broadcast your talent, and obviously the levels of opponents is not at the Premier League level. Let's just put the icing of the cake. But to promote your youngsters in such a important pivotal season for Ange, isn't it a big risk? He's risking it all for youth, which on the flip side could be good. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy that we've got Bergvall, and I want to make this clear. I'm happy that we've got all these youth, but we need quality. We need leaders on this pitch. And for me, if we're not going to bring in a striker,
we've got 4 weeks to do it, TJ. 4 weeks before the season starts, Saturday the 7th, right? 17th of August, Saturday the 17th of August. Even though the transfer window doesn't close until the 31st of August, 2 weeks later. But you don't want to be trying to bed in players then. Really, we should be getting someone in these next 2 weeks. So at least, right, Andrew's got a couple of weeks to work with them, even if they miss the pre-season games, before the season starts. Or else they're going to be playing catch-up, right, with pre-season. So we need to move in these next 2 weeks. And, like, I just get a feeling, I mean, like, I could be totally wrong. I think it'd be David because he's 24, he's younger. And I think they'll take a punt on him. Because, to be fair, it's going to be a punt on Jimenez. If you went for El Nisri, it'd be a punt on him. I don't know if Sergio Garassi's deal went through because they had a new coach.
No, he failed his medical, apparently.
Did he? I like the look of him, but I know a lot of people won't even know who he is, right? I like the look of him, but he's 28, 29 or whatever, so we're not going to go for him. And I think I don't think Andrew's going to go anywhere near Tony. I mean, the rumour is that Brentford have dropped their price to 45 mil. I don't think that's not even attracting. We'll see in the next couple of days if that attracts buyers, even West Ham or stuff like that, right? Because Chelsea and Arsenal haven't even gone nowhere near him. There's something not quite right about this situation with Tony. There's something quite right about it. And I don't know if any more information may have fed back about the player and his psychological profile away with the England camp or whatever to convince
Can I answer Nita's hold on, was it Nita? Nita, you said in the UK we siphon our youth, youngers. What's the point of the academy? Yeah, well, listen, I 110% agree with what you're saying. The youth academy is meant to step up to the first team. But what we're saying is we are relying on all of our youth to step up. And for me, with a manager that has said he wants to achieve bigger and better things, because after last season, I think it was the Liverpool. Even the Arsenal-Liverpool preview, he said, my plans are not to finish top 4. He says it's to go for the title. And we all heard it. He said that's his future goals. Now, with having them type of goals, if you're building a team of youth, is that the quality to bridge the gap between Arsenal and Man City? That's my first statement. Now, I'm not saying that these players don't have quality. Look, I've spoke first half. Gray, Bergvall, Mikey Moore, all of these guys have good quality. What I'm saying is our youth going to bridge that gap? I don't think so. Until we sign quality players to play with the youth, to nurture them, because you're basically, look, I'm just a bit tired of this round circle. It always happens every single year. We could bring in the best quality player, but we decide to go cheap and we decide to not spend the extra 10 to 20 million, which has been happening for years and years. How many players have we missed?
Yeah.
And look, I don't have to.
Mane, Grealish.
Exactly. Look, see, I don't have to even name any players. And by me saying how many players have we missed, the panel have just listed players that we've missed. My problem isn't the youth. The youth is thriving. Our under 21s and under 18s and have done so well. The women's done so well.
Bruno
If you watch
Fernandes
me
is another
past, if you've ever watched me past this show, you would understand how I thrive with the youth and thrive with the females. Hazel, be my witness. I'm loving what all the youth are doing.
I do, put it that way.
Yeah, I'm a big Tottenham fan. I watch a lot of football. My main concern is we're relying too much on youth and not bringing in the quality that we need.
But we have three more experienced midfielders in Bentancur, Maddison. You know, we have Basuma. Right?
Basuma.
They are. Yeah, I know he was pants towards the end of the last season. So was Maddison, but they are more experienced midfielders, and they have to step up. Because then you aren't relying so much on youth. They're the ones that should be. They're the ones that should be guiding Bergvall.
The youth, yeah, of course, yeah.
You guys see the story about Jacob Ramsey?
I'm more concerned. I'm not concerned so much with the midfield. I want Eze in to make that an 8, right? I am more alarmed about our front three getting enough goals. I'm more concerned about that.
Have you guys seen the story about Jacob Ramsey and Lo Celso swap? I just saw it just now. 19 million plus Lo Celso for Jacob Ramsey at Villa, apparently.
Yeah, I don't believe that. You have to understand the links with Villa. You have to understand, right? We took Johan Lange off of Villa as our director of football, right? We took Milo Jedinic off of Villa. He's now an assistant coach and does a lot of the analysts. And we took Frederick Leff off of Villa, who's head of strategy. So, like, I don't know what he's doing, right? So we've took 3 of Villa's staff. Now, they'll know the Aston Villa squad like the back of their hands, won't they? So if we were linked for anyone with Villa, my first thing, yeah, that's normal because of that. This Ramsey, we're not paying that sort of money for Ramsey. No way.
Honestly, I know.
You could go and get Nico Williams or Danny Olmo for that, couldn't you?
He's actually a really good player, though. Like, I saw him quite a lot last season because I watched a bit of it.
What are you talking about, Danny Olmo?
No, Jacob Ramsey. I'm talking about Villa.
But that
honestly, I really like him. I think he's a really good player.
The press always talk in telephone numbers when it comes to buying players, don't they? You know what I mean? It's always like really inflated amounts of money. Like I not that sort of money. I don't know what he's truly worth. What is he, 23?
He's really young.
Yeah, 23, 24. If you were going for him, you definitely wouldn't be going for Eze.
You say progress. You say progress. Sorry, guys. You say progress, but hasn't this progress been progressing for the last 5 to 6 years? Progress.
I just think we failed better in the transfer window over the last couple of seasons, and there have been positive structures in all aspects of the club from the academy level upwards. There have been. It's nowhere near where we want to be, because we want to see our team win trophies, don't we? It's not there. It has improved. We have failed
exactly.
better.
No, you made the point. Success is based on trophies. That's the final thing that you could actually obtain success to. There's a reason why trophies are very high on the spectrum. You don't hear who finished top 4. You don't hear who finished second. You hear who wins the Premier League. You hear who has won the final. 5 years ago, we were in semi. We failed against Liverpool. We failed under Carabao Cup under Mourinho. So progress is about improving every single year. But what I have been seeing for the last 5 to 6 years, or how long has it been? 16 and a half years since we last lifted a trophy. We've been failing. If you carry on repeating the cycle of the same thing over and over again, it becomes a failure. There has to be a point where you have to say, what we're doing is wrong. Now, I'm not saying that the youth that we've signed will ultimately fail. Please don't mix my words up. I think what we've done this year has been really, really good. Bringing in Archie Gray, up and coming player. What we're doing with Mikey Moore in our setup, Bergvall, Ashley Phillips, brilliant players to sign. They will retain their values, and obviously in the next 10 years, who knows? We bought them cheap. They could be worth 60 to 70 million. That's progress. But progress in a club has many meanings. The progress that I want as a Spurs fan, and maybe Nita, maybe you might subscribe to something different towards progress, is winning things. And the fact that we haven't won things in 16 and a half years, it's a failure. We say it as it is, because if you start using terminology of each year we're going to get better, and each year we're going to do this, and each year you start sugarcoating our failures. We have failed. We're the only team in the top 6 that haven't won a trophy in the last 5 years. You have Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Leicester. You've got Aston Villa. I can list so many teams that have lifted trophies, which have seen as
West Ham won.
West Ham.
Yeah.
So what we've been doing right now has been a failure.
Right.
And it's
so
only...
Okay, we agree with that. So, Mark, I'll come to you. So, if it looks like we're bringing a couple in, and they were just say Jonathan David and Eze, would you be happy with that?
Not Jonathan David.
Right, okay.
We want quality. We want quality.
Or someone like that, yeah.
We need a quality striker. I said as soon as Richarlison turned up, there's Harry's replacement. And I was correct. Because a year or two later, Harry went.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what TJ was just saying, you look at the teams we've had, and we haven't won anything, especially the team Poch had. Just that, we just needed that little injection.
Even Dennis said it. We need two. He said 2 or 3. There were 2 or 3 short. I can't remember what he said.
Yeah. That got me actually. I mean, I'm usually very positive all Spurs. I'm guilty of probably being 75% glass full most of the time, but
I'm certainly not
that as well. No, I know. But when Anne said,
I'm sorry, I made it negative.
No. That's fine. Look, your opinions are respected. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't care what people have to say. But that, when Anne said recently, and you can quote him, we're looking to bring another couple in, I thought, not enough, right?
No.
If we're getting rid of 4, and Reguilon would be 5, and that's if we're keeping Spence. Because if Spence and Reguilon do go, and you've got Gil Lo Celso, then you've got Emerson, who's got to go, isn't he? And Højbjerg. Then you're like, to me, I thought, okay, we're getting 4 in. That's good. We'll get the left back, we'll get the striker, we'll get Eze, and we'll get another in a position. You know, and whoever we bring in will determine where Archie Gray plays. Now, the fact that we've got 7 midfielders, including Gray, might mean we've got 6, and at the moment he's earmarked for right back. You know, to cover Porro. It might be that. So we don't know what's in Ange's head, do we? This is the thing. We don't know what he wants and what the recruitment team have got in mind. I think this is good. I mean, and no clubs moved in this transfer window. No one's really moved. Man United got young kid in and whatever and things. No one's really like gone out and bought, a string of free players in like. So
We're all on holiday at the moment, Adrian.
This is it. This is it as well. Yeah, Mark. So, Charlie, do you think we'll get more than 2 in or not? No.
I don't know for sure. I'm just
I'm the same.
Just surviving, just seeing what we're doing every day. And with Tottenham, Johan Lange doesn't like to show his things, doesn't like to do all that stuff. So I'm literally just seeing what comes out every day, seeing what's happening every day. But for the rest, I'm not really. I don't know, man. It's just I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We won't discuss QPR, guys. We've been going nearly 2 hours. It's been good. I mean, like, we've chewed over this problem. We're left with is a worn out piece of chewing gum, basically. Like, and without boring anyone to death, unless you've got any final comments to make, I'll go through any final comments, Mark.
No, thank you everyone for joining. It's been a pleasure as always. Like and subscribe and all that stuff that YouTubers say.
Yes, we will.
Thanks for having me on again, Adrian. And,
we will invite you back anyway. We'll get.
And as always,
in the back.
And as always, no, that's copyrighted. I'm not allowed to do that.
Right.
Thanks for having me on.
Go on,
Adrian.
Charlie.
Thank you for having me on as well, man. I really appreciate it, man. We need to do more streams. I haven't seen you in a long while.
You'll be doing we will be on Sunday. Our times will be Sundays, Tuesdays, and Fridays, which is what we've been doing. Because the reason we'll be going Sundays, Tuesdays, and Fridays is because now we're in the Europa League, we're going to be playing Sundays. So EMF will be mainly doing the Sunday shows, either pre-match or post-match, according to what time we play on a Sunday. And some of our games might get shifted to a Monday, but with UEFA it's been. The reason we're doing Tuesdays because we're not in a Champions League, in case you haven't noticed, and there will be Monday night football. We don't want to clash with that. And the reason we do a Friday
games on the Monday,
the reason we do a Friday show is although with that to compete with other podcasts and the Euros and everything else, like we don't mind that, but we want to get people that do come and watch us to get used to the times we're doing. And the reason we'll be doing Friday shows is because we'll be playing Thursdays. So we'll be playing Thursdays, so we'll be able to do the post match. And like anyone's welcome to come on the show. We respect all opinions. We class ourselves in being a mature and sensible like Spurs group, right? And that's the way we intend to keep it. We don't care if you're extreme in your views one way or another, as long as when you're on the show you just respect everyone else.
Yeah, you have to be respectful. Yeah. Thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it, man. It was nice talking to you about Spurs. And Nita, all love. Comments, all love, man. Honestly, really appreciate you having me on as well.
I will see you guys in the back room to get your details, and I'll play you out with this.